Ready to go under the night lights at the Iowa Speedway. Racecraft Rallycross returns after its trip across the pond. In Scotland's Knockhill race circuit, plenty of excitement and new winners were to be found, but here as we return to familiar sights for many drivers, what will be in store, we're about to find out. Welcome along to RaceSpotTV for continued coverage of Racecraft Rallycross powered by Next Level Racing. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati, delighted to be back alongside with Justin Prince after I missed what Justin sounds like some great racing a week ago at one of the newer tracks on iRacing available for RX, but now we return to something a bit more familiar.
Yes, indeed. It was a wild time at Knockhill. You had a couple first-time winners, in fact, whether it was on debut in RX2 or it's the first time for one of the calls from RX2 to RX1 at Knockhill. But Iowa tonight, going to be intriguing because we were talking about this. A lot of drivers may not like this as much as some others, but remember, this was one of the originals when it came to the lineup of Rallycross racetracks. There is a twist tonight when it comes to the circuit, though. It's a night race rather than the usual that you would see at Iowa in the day.
And enjoying that we get to mix things up as well, because too often, right, we just go through the motions. No, we change things up. We get to see something different. And, well, not too much different in terms of the points format. If you're new to the world of Rallycross, it all starts in qualifying where the drivers are underway right now. They get the track to themselves, the pressure thrown onto their shoulders, and the really chance to step up and deliver. 6 points to the fastest driver. That also sets them off in the best stead for the heats, where a couple of drivers advance directly into the main event where the main points are on offer. And so often we talk about needing to make your way through to those main events over the course of the championship seasons to be involved in the championship fight. And with 2 rounds already in the books, JP, this is how the standings look. Thomas Poulsen leads by just 7 points over Tobias Holman, with Cody Cosgrove and then Greg Johnson third and fourth behind. And while there is a bit of a stretch between first and third, note how close third through seventh is. Still a long way to go, of course, in this 6-round championship.
And a lot of the main reason that stretched out so much was because we had a good number of drivers seem to get involved in almost any type of crash possible, including going barrel rolling into the tight sections at Knockhill. So a lot of the drivers, especially Chris Pizik, for example, Cody Cosgrove, a couple others, are essentially in recovery mode after being sent upside down or into a blender of crashes to try and pick up some points after last week.
Yeah, and you know, we talk about being thrown into a bit of a wild track as well. Let's take a look at this track map from up above. You can see the start line actually rounds itself through where the final corner would be, but it's the only time we fan out through the right and then fly into the dirt through 1 and 2, and your eyes don't deceive you. The Joker section removes 4 full corners. It's between 11 and 13 seconds quicker depending on how quick you are, how efficient you are with the execution. And JP, I think today that's going to be important.
I think that's going to be one of your best opportunities, actually, because not only does it shortcut those 4 corners, it technically starts things off into the NASCAR turn 3 with a lot of momentum for turn 7. Depending on how comfortable you are in the technical portions, that could be a massive time saver, and I'm not just saying that because the gain on the Delta. I mean a save for the end of the race, to be able to set up a shootout if you really are strong in the infield section and know you can capitalize as a result with the Joker.
71% tarmac, 29% dirt, so there's not going to be too much slip and sliding around. It's going to be more about controlling the car and making your way through all of those sections with as little time loss as possible. As mentioned, drivers are underway for the qualifying session right now, and it's rolling through quite nicely. Most of the drivers already onto the board. It's Cody Cosgrove with a 36.375, a tenth and a half quicker than Alex Otero, and then Chris Pizik is in third. Can find a decent gap back to Cole Fisher in 15th. Only Trevor Teal yet to set a time, and he's coming towards the line right now in that Nitro Cross machine. See if he's going to be able to set a relatively good time, because he will have one more opportunity to set a time after this, but Trevor Teal not on the board just yet.
It's going to be borderline, though, just looking at things. Right now, there's about 32 seconds of the clock. The fastest laps are in the 36-second bracket. It looks like he's already caked in portions of the race car, though. Teal's had some rough moments in the past couple of weeks, especially last time. Muscles who got bounced around into that opening lunge through the start of Knockhill. looking to be just trying to make sure this car doesn't plow into a wall here with how tight he's looking in these sections.
Yep, and it's one of those things as well where if the car's not to your liking in this qualifying session, don't forget the track's going to evolve and improve. Teal up to 11th, but going to be no higher for him on the board. We are ready to go racing, though. Remember, 2 heats we'll have here today, and then it will be all down in towards the racing action in the LCQs. Let's go trackside, take you down towards the starting grid for the first of the 2 heats, where it is going to be Cody Cosgrove alongside Chris Pissock on the front row, Tobias Holman, and then Thomas Poulsen, the championship leader, on the second row, with Casper Thielgaard and then Trevor Teal behind them on the third row. Eric Dubois and Corey Boudinot round out the 8 cars that will do battle. And remember, while 8 will enter, 3 go directly through to the main event in JP. There are championship points up for grabs as well.
And that means, quite simply, want to do very well to start things off. Set the tempo, get good points in the heat, yes, but obviously get great starting position. Make sure you are in for the show. Right now, top 3 advance, remember, for each of these features here tonight. With the grid size, looking like we're just waiting on one more, and then we can go launching forward to what should be a wild start, because the start line is along the pit straight, essentially, here at Iowa. It's full steam up until the quick right-hander, and then you join the course right at the jump.
It's not a very long run either, just 100-odd meters or so. And now just waiting for the final drivers to get to the line and to get their instructions to rev their engines. Was that a bit of a jump start potentially from the Beetle? We'll have to find out. Engines rev. We're racing at Iowa, and look at the launch from the No Control Subaru. There's going to be carnage behind. Add 1 to the flip counter instantly. We'll cross turn number 1 with chaos and carnage, but our leader's going to be Thomas Poulsen, the championship leader, with a rocket of a start, and now sliding through the dirt and through the regular stadium section.
That was one of the worst starts you could potentially have. That was even worse than some of the knock-hill starts. What can you say? You have someone trying to send it 4 wide into a 3 wide corner, drive into the water barrels. Oh, by the way, the Beetle got the black flag. The Beetle might have gotten the least damage out of that because of that, because of how many cars just destroyed themselves.
And as mentioned, as there's Tobias Holman, who's had a bit of an issue in an already beaten and battered Ford Fiesta. That Casper Thielgaard, I do think, as expected, did get the slight jump on the start, but my word, what a crazy start, and it's only going to be more intense from here. Let's not forget, remember, they got to take the Joker once across of this race. Only Thielgaard and Holman took it the first time by. I think Trevor Teal has taken it the most recent time by, and that's why he's going to cycle to the line and be your race leader with 2 laps complete. 13 seconds, though, again, that's the margin you get on the Joker.
Honestly, knowing that the Beetle's going to have to serve the black flag at the end of this race, they've usually had to sacrifice the time gained on the final lap, essentially. It's going to put a lot of pressure for this 3rd spot. Cosgrove's already taken the Joker with the crash that happened. Thomas Poulsen's going to have a lot of pressure, and a lot of others going to need to recover, and very fast from that slam that checked them up.
Yeah, and let's go back and, well, take a look at what happened on the initial race start, because you could just see it was the pinching, and 4 into 1 definitely doesn't work. Somehow they land on all 4s as well, but just not an easy start by any means. And if that's a sign of what's to come, you've got to be careful. Just look how the track narrows down as well. But back on the live pictures, great action all behind Chris Pissock as Cody Cosgrove, almost slides himself over the jump sideways. Now, Pissock takes to the Joker, important because he will now cycle to the race lead in front of Trevor Teal. And now we just wait for Thomas Poulsen, who's left himself in a very precarious situation coming towards the final lap of this race.
Here's the thing, though. Poulsen, as we were looking at the previous replay, you see in the lower corner, did have that slip up because it's essentially a drift coming out of the corner to be able to make it towards the apron around this racetrack. He's got some damage that's going to potentially slow him up the rest of the way here. That might be the difference with the white flag. We'll have to find out. He was comfortably 3rd before the Joker, before that point.
Here's on board with that 49 machine. You can see you do have to get on the brakes slightly, and he will definitely not emerge in front of either Pissock or Trevor Teal. That is the difference with waiting to take your Joker. Remember, 3 advance, so Poulsen will do enough, but he'll have some work to do come the main event. Chris Pissock wins the first heat of the night, advances along with Teal and Poulsen.
And a good recovery for Poulsen in particular from the mistakes. A sloppy run for a couple others like Crossgrove and company, where they're going to be thinking, what just happened to start off this night when they get to the LCQ coming up in a little bit.
And now the final drivers will get to the line. We will get ready to go for, remember, the second of our heats, and only going to have 2 of these heats. So 6 drivers go directly through from here. And our graphics needing a bit of a reset, so I'll quickly walk you through how they are going to end up lining up. Alex Otero will be at the very front. He'll have Rennie Sotens alongside him. And then Joshua Darnell, coming off the victory, will be alongside Greg Johnson. Here's a look at the rest of the grid. Vergaard, Olsen, Leah, Ian Fisher in the Racecraft, I don't know machine. But behind them, Ovid Anderson and Cole Fisher. Another 8 drivers enter, but only, again, remember, 6 in the main event from these heats. 3 more to advance. Already seeing a bit of a jump start. JP, what are these drivers going to be thinking after what they saw from start number 1?
I know there's already a question. Can we go 4 wide before the start? I think the answer is don't do that again. That's pretty straightforward.
Another decent start, but this time from the front row. They play bumper cars behind, though, but cleanly through the long right-hander they will go. Your leader gets a big tag, though, as they work their way back towards the stripe to officially start the opening lap. It's Joshua Darnell that's grabbed the whole shot from Owen Anderson. Ian Fisher, who takes off driver's right, who takes to the Joker. Only 2 drivers decide to do so. There's battling through the stadium section.
I think it was smart on the ladder, those 2, Ian Fisher to take it. He lost a lot of ground with pushing, shoving, although Anderson is really trying to hold up Greg Johnson here amongst those in the back half, all while those front runners looking very solid. It still seems like a Subaru block party amongst some of the transfers. Those cars seem to be more comfortable despite the size of the racetrack in the early going.
Remember, as the track wears as well, we expect these cars to get stronger. So 3 drivers take to the Joker. It leaves Sotens and Darnell maybe in split minds as to whether they respond. Remember, 11 to 13. That's the magic number. And it's Greg Johnson that decides to not take to the Joker, as Owen Anderson emerges alongside and in front of Vergaard, Olsen, Leah. So scrambling's going to ensue, and this is where you got to be careful. Big lunge from the Subaru. Olsen back on forward, but now loses his momentum and back behind.
Oh, that's even worse, though, from Anderson. He couldn't get the car settled. He's normally bicycling it in a Fiesta. That was a rough sequence. Anderson, smart play on the Joker, but it just wasn't planned out in terms of preparing for the dive bomb. More Joker time, though. Here we go. Our winner from last week, Darnell, continuing to back up the momentum.
And followed through by Greg Johnson, it would seem, in the Team Watson racing car. And look how much to the inside Ian Fisher was running. But now we'll have to back out of it and try and make the move happen with 2 to go this time by. So, Rennie Sotens left as the driver in the best position with no Joker left. With a Joker left to take advantage of. Will he decide to take it this time by, or will he save it for the final lap? Now, he does have a little bit of clean air in front of him. If that's going to help him make up his mind, no, he goes this time by, and Darnell's going to be committed on the inside. But look at the overspeed. New race leader, Sotens to the front.
Yeah, that interval was about 11 seconds. The lowest total you can gain if you nail it right, 11 seconds, right? So Sotens just played that perfectly. Knew he was going to take the lead at that exact interval, at that exact point. Make Darnell fight to try and get the top points for the heat. Darnell struggling now on the worn track of the Fiesta.
Made a small mistake, but fortunately doesn't drop back into the clutches of Alex Otero. Oh my word, what are they doing behind? Well, I think Vergaard, Olsen, Leah's got a little bit lost. Greg Johnson and Ian Fisher, that was Owen Anderson that might have been a little bit lost, but my word, this is what Rallycross racing is kind of about, but all at the very back. Rennie Sotens will win, though, in heat number 2. Joshua Darnell and Alex Otero to follow through.
Yeah, well done when it comes to the run from Darnell again, but again, smart play from Renee. Knew when to take the Joker based on the intervals, knew when it was going to be the smart call. Others, though, going to be thinking, what if? Fisher did get the 4th spot with Johnson hitting that tire barrier, but still, it's going to be a very wild C-main coming up.
and effectively that gives them slightly better starting positioning. There's a look at the results confirmation of who's still got some work to do. Let's go take a look. We do have 2 of the LCQs coming up, and therefore it's going to be some intensity surely building. Boudinot, Cosgrove, Dubois, Holman, Thielgaard. It's going to be 5 that enter, and just based on the quick back of the handkerchief math, should be 3 that advance. So unfortunately, JP, only saying goodbye to 2 drivers here.
I mean, there is one major key to advance when you think about it on the field now. Don't crash. It's as simple as that, right? All it takes is 1 or 2 of these drivers make mistakes and they're out of the show. All you need to do is be solid. Just survive.
Once again, the engines rev, spots in the main event up for grabs. Oh, the 000 goes nowhere. Dubois to the back, 3 wide for second, and having to back out of it. Very heads-up driving there from Corey Boudinot. Taking the lead, though, Tobias Holman's going to be challenging through the opening corner. Oh, a car's going up and over. Holman too aggressive. He'll land maybe on all 4s, but with Boudinot in strife behind him, have we just found out the 2 that won't advance from here?
I mean, I literally just said there was one key to advance. Don't crash. And they just managed to lose that key somewhere in the bushes, or somewhere in the cornfields at least. At the very least, Eric Dubois, despite all that, is looking pretty solid. Just trying to take advantage as the only driver to use the Joker so far.
I mean, there are crazy races, and then there are crazy, crazy races. This is what happened as we take a look at the RaceSpotTV replay through the opening corner, and it's just the sausage curve on the inside. Where does he land? Ends up landing on all 4s, so still potentially a chance. You could just see he grips and goes effectively. Thielgaard takes the lead with his Joker, though. Dubois and Holman already with that crown on the right-hand side that denotes they've taken what is a shortcut here today. Let's not forget, not a long lap, JP. Yep. In the US, the shortcut a bit more popular. Over in Europe, the long lap a little bit more popular.
Yeah, we've already seen that play in a lot of times, and it's become more so the staple. When it comes to the American side, you mentioned be able to quickly slip up, creates a lot of creative drama, so to speak. For example, Cosgrove's now the leader with said Joker lap, and it shows off that exact burst I'm talking about. Full throttle, going down on the banking compared to being on the apron, then maybe onto the banking is a massive difference in speed when you're going down that straightaway, and we've seen already a lot of contact as a result of those speed differences around where the NASCAR pit entry would be. And
I think now the real question just becomes, does Tobias Holman have enough speed to be able to make a pass happen on Eric Dubois in front of him? This is the fight for 3rd. Final spot in the main event up for grabs, and this would be a spot on the very final row as well. They would have to fight their way forward in terms of to get some decent championship points onto the board. And let's not forget, Holman came into this race 7 points behind Thomas Paulson, 2nd in the championship. Last thing he wants to do in a 6-round event, in a 6-round season, excuse me, is not make a main event, and Dubois gone wide, sets up the chance. 1 more lap to go.
That was nearly the opportunity on a platter. This might be even better, though, if you can clear it. How about that? A pull shot to move him out of the way.
Serve was sent. Will it be sent back now? Eric Dubois has got half a lap to try and close back. Race control. We'll take a look post-race. Nothing they'll do in the here and now. Boudinot gets in front of Casper Thielgaard. Dubois slips off the track. Oh, it's craziness, and I forgot that Boudinot had the Joker in his back pocket as well. Cody Cosgrove will advance. I mean, these last 2 rounds have been absolute brawls, JP. The main event's going to be something to behold.
This is huge for the championship, though, with Holman not making the feature here. That's just blown the championship picture wide open.
Well, as mentioned, 5 would enter, 3 would advance, and dramatic championship stakes now up for grabs, potentially also an LCQ number 2. Here's a look at those that will advance. 3 drivers being Cody Cosgrove, Casper Thielgaard, and Tobias Holman. Let's go take a look, though, at the starting grid for the 2nd of the LCQs, where Ian Fisher is alongside Vergaard, Olsen Lear, Greg Johnson, Owen Anderson, and then Cole Fisher round out the 5 cars that once again line up and get ready to battle. How many flips do we add to the counter this time, JP?
Well, we've already had, what, 2? So maybe 1 more, just for good measure.
They're trying, that is for sure. Now, if you're Cole Fisher, potentially, you're at the back all by yourself, maybe you try and stay out of trouble. It's easier said than done. Who gets the whole shot here? Ready to go in LCQ number 2. It's about even across the board, to be fair. From the inside, though, of the front row. Contact with the wall. Contact from row 2 as well. Cole Fisher and Greg Johnson getting tangled up there. And Greg Johnson going nowhere fast. Who takes to the Joker, though, as they slide their way very, very wide. Around goes Ian Fisher in the Racecraft car. 2 drivers straight away to the shortcut. My goodness, chaos once again.
And Fisher makes it 3 of the 5 straight to the Joker. And, well, pretty much everyone's making it clear. No punches being held back, as I think Johnson's done. Greg Johnson with that contact to the wall. There was no way he was going to catch up with how far back he got.
And something's happened to Cole Fisher here, where you can hear him bouncing off the limiter. I get the sense that this is going to be an LCQ where Leah, Anderson, and Fisher stay out of trouble, and you're fighting basically not to be eliminated amongst each other.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on with the 55 there. It almost looks like he's lost the shifter. But I will say,
oh no! What did we just say? Cole Fisher's going to cycle his way on forward. And you're right, he 100% has lost a shifter or something here. And Ian Fisher's in trouble.
If he advances with this situation, which is pretty certain, yes, because I think the other Fisher just towed. I think Cole just has to make it simple. Just make it work and then figure it out in 2 minutes or so, because we're down to 3 cars. Now it's the matter of how you want to start.
This is insanity. I've seen a lot, JP. I've done about 1,000 sim racing broadcasts in 3.5, 4 years. Rallycross is always something new.
Yeah, I'm kind of stunned here. I don't think I've seen anything like this before, where you basically have the last to advance running on 1 gear. I mean, he's kind of living up to the advance key of don't crash, literally, because he's going to advance because he didn't crash.
We might still have a fight at the front, though. Vergard Olsen Leah being hunted down by Oben Anderson. Subaru versus Fiesta. They'll unwind off the banking, hook a hard left, and then run back to the line, white flag in hand, and 8/10 between them. Mistake from Leah. Anderson on the brakes before he got to the jump. He recognized that he was going to run into the back of the slow and stricken Subaru, and now 1 more lap to sort it between the 2.
We've already seen, though, Anderson's not afraid to slam a lot of paint through, keeping a lot more gear into it. Watch the gear shift. We've seen more drivers in the Subaru through 3rd up to 4th gear in some of these sections, holding a lot more straight to 4th gear. It might come down to a lunge if he wants to take this away.
Probably not worth the risk. Surely you'd have to think so. But, I mean, it's been a bit of an entertaining race, but maybe not entertaining in the ways that some would have wanted. Poor Ian Fisher upside down and letting Cole Fisher with no gears, making it through by himself. Very close at the end, by the way. It was about 2/10 across the line, maybe giving us the sense you might be able to see a photo finish. And I think he's still stuck in gear, isn't he? Oh no, he's got gears now.
He got it unjammed.
Woo!
It's good enough to advance. That's all that matters.
And that is literally all that matters. He'll now have a few minutes to get his nerves calmed down. Here's a look at the race results. Cosgrove, Theogard, and Holman advancing, of course, out of the first of our LCQs. In the second of the LCQs, Olsen, Leah, Anderson, and Fisher. We say goodbye to Ian Fisher and Greg Johnson as well, but my goodness, you couldn't have asked for much more. Our main event coming up next, though, here on RaceSpotTV. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here from the Iowa Speedway. Welcome back to RaceSpotTV. We're ready to go for the main event. Here from the Iowa Speedway under the lights, it's time to return to one of iRacing's classic rallycross venues, and it hasn't disappointed in terms of the amount of chaos. Arjuna Kankipati joined alongside by Justin Prince, and already we've seen some drama in terms of who is going to be racing in our main event. The drivers see their warm-up session come to a close though. Let's take you down to the starting grid. Let's get ready to go for 10 laps of racing action. And so at the front, and after waiting after both of those heats came to a close, Chris Pissock's joined alongside by Rennie Sotens. Trevor Teal joined by Joshua Darnell, the Thomas Poulsen Championship leader alongside of Alex Otero. Cody Crosgrove's going to line up then 7th with Vergaard Olsen, Leah, Casper Thielgaard, Owen Anderson, Tobias Holman, and Cole Fisher. The rest of the 12 drivers that get ready to go racing. JP, it's been an interesting stage to get us here so far. What are you expecting in the slightly longer race we've got in front of us?
Well, madness, but 2, expecting a lot of heavy charges through the gears here pretty quickly. The whole shot's been critical, but also being able to get a good launch in the first lap's been critical. All the way up to where the Joker cut line is. Gotta survive to then, and then sort it out.
Here we go, engines rev, we're ready to go racing. Under the night lights, who will shine brightest? Good start from the front row, 3 wide behind. Chris Pissock's going to get jumped, and the chaos ensues. One car almost perpendicular, but able to hold on. Chaos across the line, though, and scampering off into the wall. 2 cars, Alex Otero and championship leader Thomas Poulsen. Taking to the Joker a couple more cars, more chaos ensuing as well. My word, more madness as we get underway.
Yeah, a lot of drivers trying to find out ways not to finish with the way it's going right here. All that's allowing essentially Trevor Teal to just say, you know what, I'm just going to run. I'm just going to take this clean space and see if I can break through here. What did I say just before that launch? Let it settle into around that point of the racetrack. Then figure out what the strat is. For most of the field, they're on the back foot because just about everyone except for 2 cars slid around there.
Here goes Rennie Sotens, Chris Pissock to the Joker. Trevor Teal had led 4 cars through on lap number 1, but now they're all going to get jumped. Remember, 11 to 13 seconds. That's the crucial delta that we've been talking about. How well can you execute? And right now, Joshua Darnell, probably the one that finds himself, once the timing tower updates, once they all cross the line, as the first car yet to take to the Joker. There you see his Ford Fiesta. He's got some traffic in front of him. Tobias Holman's the next car in line. Surely he's got to respond sooner rather than later. Because it's dirt, you get onto the power and you roll that momentum through, and here he goes. You see the leaders off to driver's left-hand side. He won't get to them. Soten's going to deal with the pressure, though, from Chris Pissock.
Very smart play, very smart run. Side-by-side of contact. So it's just about squished into the wall. All this is allowing an opportunity for Pissock to try and run on away. By the way, very smart call for Darnell to take the Joker because Leah was upside down the second he was trying to avoid this sector these leaders are now in now.
Owen Anderson's had some issues, but here is the fight at the front, and it's going to be intense because you can see how many cars have Jokered. This is now all just down to who's going to be the most physical on track. Joshua Darnell almost runs into the back bumper of Rennie Sotens. Not even halfway through this one. Thomas Poulsen, if he can close and see all these cars lose some time, JP, could still be in a chance with using his Joker at the end of this race to take advantage. Look how much they're fighting.
Especially with second, that's a big miss on the hop. Rennie Sotens just went too hard to the inside on the slide, timed it up too early across the sausage curves, and now the fight's truly on to try and break away. If you're Pissock, you have to try and run. Darnell seems to be focusing more on the battle with Teal than anything yet.
Next time by, halfway through, here's the look with Thomas Poulsen, championship leader, who interestingly elects not to Joker. He's got 2 in front that he's going to have to try and dispatch of, and then we'll have a handful of laps to try and work on through. He gets past Thielgaard, the Beetle not wanting to fight too hard. Now Cole Fisher, who's had some technical issues. What's going to happen as we sail off into that final corner? Look how he looks low off the banking initially, and JP forces the issue.
Nicely done. Lots of space being given there. The Beetle Meich is a teammate. It's no surprise to be able to see a lot of give and take there. But the more give and take he gets, the better. Paulson, though, is not where he needs to be. Even with the argy-bargy going on with the Beetle, Paulson needs to find a way to pick up a few more seconds here to be comfortable. And there they go.
And it went bad for the Beetle. But this is the thing right now where JP, Alex Otero jokers now, so he's going to end up in front of Paulson. They're not fighting that much in front anymore. Chris Pisuk's looking quite comfortable, and so Paulson's not getting those chances to close the gap. I think he might be dispatched directly into the fight for the podium, though.
Yeah, based on the timing differentials, especially since Thielgaard just towed here, going to put him around the top 3, around where Trevor Thiel is. A great bounce back when you think about it, though, for Pisuk, because he was everybody's bouncy ball when it came to knock-hill last time. He basically got knocked around every single corner. Even though he's been knocked around a bit here in Iowa, he's been able to stand a little bit more firmer to the contact.
So just Thomas Paulson on the left side of the screen, yet to take to the Joker. 17 seconds off your race leader, Joshua Darnell, winner on debut a week ago over at Knockhill. Wants to try and close as well. He's not really being given the chance. Teal, Crosgrove, Holman being dropped from the mix. Paulson closing on traffic. At some point, he's going to have to go and make that decision. Sotens and Holman are fighting as well. It's not, that wasn't great.
Yeah, that wasn't the greatest. Contact for this is going to be costly for Paulson if they don't get out of the way. They did. That's at least the bright side, but Renee Soten's race is just falling off the railroad track.
I don't know exactly what was happening between the two of them. Clearly, they weren't very happy amongst each other. I mean, that was how it all started. I'm sure there was more even before that, JP.
Yeah, there was already. Yeah, that's pretty much no lift, just about all the way into as late as you can there. And at that point, it was just the bystander for Otello where you know where to go. Yeah, but for Paulson here, he's got to. I don't think he's going to do it to be able to get the win, but third might even be at risk now.
We won't talk about the rejoin either there. Final lap, white flag in hand. There is Chris Pisuk, who's working his way through the stadium section. You can see behind him, cars slipping and sliding. And JP had mentioned the margin to Thomas Paulson growing to a point where he crosses the line now, even with a 11 to 13 second cut. He's not really going to be in the fight for first or second. Will he end up even being in the mix for third or fourth position? Very important for his championship, and the answer is no. It's a new race winner up front, though. Chris Pisuk converts here under the night lights at Iowa to shine brightest. Joshua Darnell second, and then Trevor Teal going to fend off Cody Crosgrove for third. What a battle here at Iowa.
What a run, and a very entertaining race to say the very least for many. For others, it's back to the drawing board and back to the store that sells drawing boards to fix the drawing boards that just got destroyed.
As some drivers still working their way around, still some drivers yet to finish as the fireworks begin to rumble on off. Here's Cole Fisher, Renee Sotens running their way to the line. But I think some championship drama for sure, and plenty for our team at Race Control to take a look at the conclusion of today's events. There's the fireworks in the backdrop. Grab a look at the race results. Hopefully grab a chat with some of the drivers as well. And then we can, of course, flip the script on the page on over to the drivers in RX1. The Run DJC machine of Chris Pisuk victorious by 1 second over Joshua Darnell. Trevor Teal rounds out your podium spots in the Nitro Circus Nitrocross machine with Cody Crosgrove and then Thomas Paulson, the championship leader, rounding out your top 5. Holman, Otero, Fisher, Sotens, and then Olsen Leah make up the rest of the top 10. And the final driver in that order scored 1 lap down. And that tells you a little bit about the drivers behind, not seeing the end. Casper Thielgaard as well as Ovind Anderson. So look top to bottom at the race results, and I'm sure plenty that the drivers want to go and debrief with their teammates and understand from the preceding events. But let's go talk to the drivers before we let them do that. Trevor Teal joins us now third. Today, Trevor took the Joker very early, stayed out of some of the trouble. Seemed like there was plenty of that here today.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy out there. It was fun. Yeah, it feels good to be back up where I should be. It's been a rough start to the season, but, had to get that Nitro Circus Sim Racing Subaru up there.
Talk to us about this track in particular, because you come from Knock Hill being, you know, one of the newest tracks on IRX to this being, of course, one of the oldest. How much fun was it being at a track like this? Old school in its nature, I feel, as well.
Yeah, it's always a fun track to come to. It's pretty unique from most of the other tracks, being that it's so tight and the Joker's so fast. Like, there's definitely some strategy you have to use when racing this track.
Coming up next, it's a trip over to Atlanta. How are you feeling about what lies ahead of us there?
My favorite track, so I cannot wait. I don't care if I even crash, I'm going to have fun at that one.
Good to hear that you're looking forward to it, and we'll see you in a week's time. Congratulations on third, Trevor. Best of luck in what we'll see at Atlanta.
Thank you. Real quick, just want to thank Nitro Circus Sim Racing, Next Level Racing, and all the guys on the team that have been putting in the work. And thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Trevor Teal joins us from third. Not sure if we're going to get the chance to chat with Chris Pisuk, your event winner. So instead, JP is going to be standing by with championship leader, at least coming into this round, Thomas Poulsen, finishing 5th on the road.
Yes, indeed, Thomas. First things first. Welcome from the trophy room. How are you feeling about a wild round here from Iowa?
It was a hard one. It was kind of messy race. A lot of things happened, turbulent, I would say. I had some bad luck on my side this time around. Was actually quite time for that. Yeah, and this is not my driving style, about driving nimble and very nice and smooth. This is not my. So I'm quite happy with the result.
Glad to hear that you're quite happy with that. Unfortunately, not able to add to that trophy case that you're surrounded by. But once you get to the focus for next week, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Thomas Poulsen joining us from... I need to know the backstory on why he has got 25 trophies.
He's done plenty of folk racing in his native racing series, and so great to see that success, and always enjoy seeing him in the sim world as well. Let's not forget, though, that the action does end up continuing, and it's a 6-round championship, so it's not a long championship by any means. You can't really afford to be left behind when it comes to championship drama. So I'm looking forward to our trip to Atlanta. The long layout as well. Yoink on the handbrake through the donk slide if you're feeling brave. Another Joker shortcut to think about too. JP, it's a great track. Can't wait to see what we've got in store.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of intense action when it comes to that, especially with the World Championship side. Especially, though, when you think about where you're seeing some of these angles. Like the bank portions of this racetrack are going to provide some intriguing differences compared to a lot more of the flatter portions of the racetracks we've seen on the schedule so far. Atlanta's going to be one of those tracks, I think, that could be pretty tricky for some, but I think it's going to be entertaining to see which drivers are able to pick up and learn quickly around the scoring pylon. And
then, of course, off to Brands Hatch, Sonoma after that to round off the season. It's a great schedule as well, in that we've kind of mixed things up. No Daytona. I know that was one thing that plenty of the drivers kind of highlighted and were like, nice to have some change. Brands Hatch, of course, the heaviest braking zone on the calendar into turn number 1. So that's always going to be intriguing to see how they end up faring for the action there. We've seen, though, plenty of drama with the drivers in RX2. RX1, open setups. Drivers with a bit more experience and maybe with a bit more of expectations as well. Don't go anywhere here on RaceSpotTV, though. We'll be right back as we continue our coverage of Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing. time for part 2 of the doubleheader. RX1 takes center stage as iRacing's finest get to grace the track. We've seen plenty of drama. Jacob Rafoss's streak may have come to an end, and Evan McFarlane's full of confidence as we get ready to go racing under the night lights here at the Iowa Speedway. Our junior Kenki party joined again alongside by Justin Prince and JP. In many ways, Jacob Rafoss, since the iRacing Rallycross World Championship came to a close, has been unstoppable, building confidence event by event, dominant champion in this series as well. But a changing of the guard is inevitable in many ways, and I'm not saying that that time has come, but Evan McFarlane's been getting more and more confident, and eventually a contender will make their presence known.
Yeah, tonight, when it comes to the open side of the card, it's going to be interesting which drivers have found different things to try and test out, utilize. Better yet, be able to try and battle at the front with. Rafoss has been one of the fastest drivers consistently throughout the first 2 races, no matter the situation. But when it came to last time out at Knock Hill, it was McFarlane that was much quicker when it came to the later stages at that racetrack to be able to pick up that victory. The youngster, I think we might see up there yet again. Looking at the chimes, he and Rafoss were trading practice times in preparation for tonight.
It's a fun schedule, short schedule, not much time to make an impact, especially if you're trying to dethrone a driver like Jacob Rafoss. Same thing can be said when it comes to how the points end up being built up and accumulated. Got to get the ball rolling in qualifying, continue it with some decent performances in the heats, and then of course make sure you're there for the main event when the main points are up for grabs. And of course we talked about the championship standings at RX2 being quite close in terms of the mid-pack, already seeing Rafoss and McFarlane separating themselves from those behind. Only 4 points split them, and every point going to be important. Josh Fox might need at some point a bit of a momentum swing in his direction, although he's going to be missing in action today, and so Josh Edmondson with a good opportunity to try and build up a couple more points in the fight for third. A look at the track though, because we've seen some racing here already, JP. What have we taken from the Joker Delta being 11 to 13 seconds, when drivers are going to use it, especially with how crazy the starts are?
It really depends first on how that initial start does go, because we've seen a lot of issues in that right-hander to get onto the racetrack. Then that first launch, especially apex of 1 and 2. If there's any checkups there, usually that's where we've seen drivers say, let's take the Joker, get some clean space. If it ends up being the counterpoint though, the main thing to consider for when to use the Joker, I've noticed, has been straight up how many cars are in front of you. What's the delta between you and reaching them? And better yet, are they about to spin when they get to turns 3 and 4? Because that's actually caused a couple drivers from RX2, I did notice, especially to say, maybe I should take the Joker now instead of slamming into the side door of somebody.
And of course,
and I think, yeah.
And of course, 71% tarmac, it does mean, of course, that plenty more of drivers trying to keep it in a straight line than trying to drift it around. 3 thousandths at the front, but still waiting for Evan McFarlane to set a really flying lap time. Jacob Rafoss on provisional pole. It's Yoni Palaneva on the board second right now. There is McFarlane in the 04. Matthew Lindy up to 4th. McFarlane starts what will be his final timed attempt.
And McFarlane needs to pick up a lot more pace compared to what he did in final practice. Looks like he's trying to build up a little bit of speed here. Just about 90 seconds left on the clock by the time he gets around the stripe. That's why he took the Joker for the run here. He is a lot more capable than 36.8s, let's put it that way. He ran in the 35.5s in final practice.
So here he goes. Clips a bit of those inside curves. Hear the engine note. Smooth on power, smooth on the downshifts as well. Bring the car's momentum with you at all times. And even here, refusing to yoink on the handbrake and instead running it more like a very traditional sort of road course car. Then go up on the banking though to really try and open up that final corner. Get as close to the wall on the inside as you dare. And what's the time going to be for McFarlane? Can he challenge Jacob Rafoss? A 35.483 to beat. And no, a quarter of a second off. It's only third for the previous race winner.
Yeah, it just seemed almost a little bit too tight when it came to that diamond. And that almost seemed to compromise the run up to the jump here. Still great starting position, a chance to battle toe-to-toe with Rafoss in the heat race. I don't think he's going to be that disappointed on what he did there in the qualifying run.
Now, no camera for Jacob Rafos today, at least that we've seen so far, so we don't know if there's people watching from behind, but he is, from what I can tell, on another qualifying attempt, although his Sim Magic cars ended up pointed towards the wall. That's definitely not going to be an improvement for him. And with 10 seconds left to go, 3,000s at the front. JP, a bit of a statement from Joni Palaneva.
Yeah, Joni Palaneva looking towards things. Up to second, he had great speed at times as well at Knockhill. It's not a full shock. He should be very solid in Heat 2.
So let's take a look at your starting grids as we get ready to go. Remember, we'll have a couple of these heats and then the LCQs all building to the main event where drivers need to first reach. But before you get there, 3 drivers will advance directly from these heats races. Jacob Rafos, McFarlane, and then Lindy, Parisi, Heiskanen and Stead Miller, front 6, before you find Russell Peterson and Brendan Raymond at the very back of the starting lineup. I think there's going to be some fierce fighting here because amongst those drivers at the front, I mean, any one of those front 5 drivers I look at and I think should be in that main event. JP, we've seen the inside line always get a little bit checked up as well on these starts. I wonder if the RX1 drivers with a bit more experience can avoid the chaos.
Yeah, I think based on experience, that's definitely going to come into play. Aggression's not something you can really train. That's just the mental mindset of most people. That being said, a lot of these drivers we have seen play these restarts a little bit more differently, knowing that you can't gain 7 spots into turn 1. Sometimes it's better to wait and pick them off one by one. On the bright side, for one driver, they get to say hi to their mom today.
And plenty of these paint schemes looking very, very good. Just waiting for Jacob Rafos to take his spot at the very front of the field, and then we will be ready to go racing. Remember, these are 5-lap races. Drivers only get 1 dive down onto the Joker, and a little bit different compared to the RX2s as we take a look at the Racecraft race analysis. These are only races that allow 6x on the incident limit, a little less margin for the drivers to be physical. Everyone's now ready to go. Eyes towards the lights. Ready to go racing for round 3 at Racecraft RX1. And a good launch from the front row. Jacob Rafos opens up the corner as well. McFarlane's going to see a challenge from his teammate Matthew Lindy alongside, but the KES Industries pair will hold second and third as they work their way across to start the first official lap. But now this is where the drivers got to be careful. Who's on the right? Who goes to the Joker? Rafos doesn't. Both the KES cars, though, do.
Seems like that's part of the strategy, although I don't think Matthew Lindy hitting the wall was part of that. About to say, though, it's just me with both of them nearly rolled on the jump. They were both starting to roll a touch bit before that full launch onto the gas.
Worked out all right for them, and now they find themselves in the clean air. But remember, 11 to 13 seconds. That's the execution window that we'll talk about with the Joker Delta here. Jacob Rafos in his Sim Magic machine for the Nitro Circus Sim Racing squad. Will he decide to go off to drivers right? Yes, he will. Bit earlier than I thought, and instantly emerges out front. Not even going to be challenged by McFarlane. Look how much overspeed he had.
Had to do the counter quickly. Rafos knows that he's near even when it comes to long run pace now. Now it's about trying to keep him in the midst of the tire tracks. Keep the mirror full, but better yet, keep him in said mirror. Don't allow him the chance for the set. However, this is also going to be helpful for McFarlane. His teammate is now going to be able to try and build a buffer for the rest of the pack, but is also trying to battle for the bubble himself.
Connor Parisi finds himself in a great spot, and here he goes, the look on board. iRacing Rallycross World Championship competitor, he hits the wall, emerges in front of Matthew Lindy, and now with 6 drivers having jokered, I think Russell Peterson and Brendan Raymond unfortunately out of contention. 2 laps and a dogfight on track to determine who makes it straight to the main event.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Tank Lindy looking very comfortable and say never mind to that point. It's going to be difficult to be able to catch back up to Parisi here now that you look at it, because Connor Parisi is good when it comes to not just this type of car, but also when it comes to the Pro Treks especially. He's going to be very tricky, even lock toe-to-toe with what we've seen. After all, he's in the same grouping as Rafos, the leader.
And it's a good sign as well that Jacob Rafos is not being allowed to break away. Evan McFarlane was very, very sideways in the air as we cross the line to start the final lap. But it goes to show that, you know, it was close margins in qualifying. JP, if something happens in the main event, Rafos isn't going to feel comfortable.
I think that's an understatement with what could happen with what we've already seen here. But on the counterpoint, when it comes to all this, I think it's pretty clear that Rafos and McFarland, at least mid-speed, are dead even on pace. It's going to come down to the least amount of mistakes overall. Here we go.
And it's Jacob Rafos, winner of the first heat of the night. McFarland directly behind him. But it is Connor Parisi that will grab the final transfer spot as well. Matthew Lindy, Santeri Heiskanen, some strong drivers with a spot in the LCQ that now they're going to have to fight over. There's the final driver to the line. Brendan Raymond completes the Heat 1 running order. Let's go ahead and take a look at the results as we get ready to go for Heat number 2. Two of the KES Industry cars started the second lap 1 and 2. Unfortunately, they don't both get to the top 3 mark they were hoping for. Rafos, along with Parisi, advanced the rest with some work, as mentioned, in one of the LCQs. Who will they have to fight with? We might find out here. Joni Palaneva, Jukka Pakula for the no control machines out front, and then Edmondson, Bjorklund, Titz, and Wegner rolling through the front 3 starting rows. Lindsay Hobbs and Felix Roy joins us for the first time, and at the very back of the starting grid. Some new faces joining some veteran faces. And JP, it was a tidy start at least as they worked their way through the initial right-hander.
It was much more expected what you plan for when you know about how many laps you have to battle with on a racetrack like this. Now it's time to see if the second half of the field knows that test.
Look at how they're staggered, 2 by 2 and ready to rumble. A good start from row 2. They're almost 4 wide as they hook it to the right. Pinball being played. I think that's Josh Edmondson that got the elbows out as they work their way back towards the line. Who's going to be left on driver's right this time? Felix Roy's aggressive, and look how aggressive in that bright blue entry. No one at the front, I think, initially deciding it's worth going down to the Joker. Esteban Titz is going to follow down Jukka Pakula. 2 drivers off to the right.
They're already to the right, so it looked like they just said, you know what, why not there with all that traffic fighting in the back half of the field at least. Front half, though, Paolo looking solid. Edmondson looking even better, though. Edmondson, again, showing a lot of speed overall in the Nitro Circus machines. All 3 of them have looked good after the initial first lap.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Josh Edmondson has very much been seeming like he might have a decent amount of pace to bring in that number 58. Is he going to take to the Joker? No, he will not. You can see your leaders, bottom right corner of your screen right now. Suddenly to be replaced by the look of Josh Edmondson in virtual reality and having to work hard on the wheel as well because this is so much of tarmac, JP. We're seeing it from the drivers. There's not so much sliding. They're having to drive very much mindful of the tires.
Yeah, a lot of drivers probably don't think about that with Rallycross. It's like, oh, it's dirt. They just slide. No, when it comes to pavement, remember, the harder you push on a track like this with the pavement, the more it cooks the right front potentially, or the front tires in general. And with that amount of heat, especially with the way the treads are set up, you can essentially torch your tires, especially in the back half of the racetrack, if you try and set it too hard with these drifts.
Joni Palaneva Jokers emerges in front of Jukka Pakula, so we have the sense that the margin is there. Josh Edmondson could also be inside of that window. But we're coming into the closing couple of laps. 2 to go this time by.
Edmondson's going to be extremely close here by the time the margin plays out. 12 seconds or so. He might be side by side for these transfer spots here at the very least. If you're TX, though, you need to find extra pace and fast. Maybe get a bumper car with how it's going. Here's the Joker.
And around
just like I said.
Around the outside with the momentum. Gets one, doesn't get past the other. So Edmondson slots into line behind Jukka Pakula, gives him a shot to the bumper out of the final corner, and receives one from behind as well. 1 more lap to go. Don't think the Joker's really too much to worry about, unless Kim Yandre Bjorklund can have a really, really good run on this final lap.
I think that's going to be a hard ask for Bjorklund, but for Tietz, it almost looks like he knows he needs to do something, but he also is playing the don't make contact strat. It's going to be close, though. Look at this, a very solid run. He's got it.
Oh, what a blast as well. And this is what Rallycross is all about, the drama of the Joker. Timing it to perfection was Kim-Andre Bjorklund. Winning, though, Heat 2 is Joni Palaneva, no control, 1 and 2. And Josh Edmondson deprived of an automatic spot in the main event.
I almost wonder if part of that was from the battle itself, because remember, Edmondson had to give a wide berth with Tiet sending it deep. That might have been just enough to lose him at least the side-by-side for the third spot.
All drivers across the line. We now know exactly who is going to be heading to an LCQ. It's no control 1-2 though in Heat 2. Palaneva, Pakala, and then Bjorklund in the Sim Racing Norway car. Josh Edmondson just pipped at the line, and then the rest of the drivers having to go to one of those two LCQs and already being gridded up. 5 will enter, 3 will advance. Same story as in RX2, but Matthew Lindy, Santeri Heiskanen, Stead Miller, Russell Peterson, and then Brendan Raymond. The 5 drivers that we'll see in the first of these last chance showdowns. And JP, based on what we saw, remember, Cole Fisher couldn't shift his car at one point. Just don't die.
Yes, I know that sounds extremely obvious, but it's something that a lot of people missed in RX2. And RX1, the standards are a little bit higher, so I don't think they're going to do what I think they may do in the next 30 seconds. Will they not?
Engines rev, and remember, from here, it's only going to get more intense. Who gets the best jump down into the opening corner? Matthew Lindy watches behind as they play bumper cars. He'll know he doesn't have to force the issue now as they rumble side by side towards the opening corner. Mistake from the Fiesta as Stead Miller slides into the wall. Might almost have got a slowdown as well. Lindy's not going to be allowed to Joker though. He will take the regular lap as Santeri Heiskanen takes his way onto the banking.
Well, I was trying to speak that we'd have a perfect start into existence. It failed. What did I just say? Don't make mistakes. Stead Miller's already parked it. And at this point, it could be the battle of who executes. Never mind, Russell Peterson's towed it. We have the second LCQ again.
Okay. Well, 4 more laps to go. And, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that was my timing screen giving me the wrong car. Never mind. I thought that was Brendan Raymond that had also just ended up down on pit lane. And I was about to say, what is someone going to advance to the main event from pit lane? It could have been possible. I mean, theoretically.
I mean, Raymond's on his own at this point. All I can really say is just don't grip roll it. The car's trying to because it's got significant suspension damage, possibly it looks like to the right rear. Just don't let the car do what it wants to do and flip into the grandstand.
Exactly, and I guess we do get to now focus on 1 and 2, Heiskanen and Lindy. But I get the sneaking suspicion, margin dropping down below the double-digit barrier. Matthew Lindy's KES Industries car. Whether he takes the Joker the next time by or on the final lap of the race, JP, he's got a good chance to jump in front.
Yeah, we've seen some solid pace from him in the first place. We already know he's got a good setup underneath the hood of his 3 machine. It's just down to getting the marks down on his own right now, if anything. And I'm pretty certain he's lucky and angled for the final lap Joker.
Indeed. Windshield working hard as well. But really, again, 29% dirt. There's not much of it. Last time by, it was about 1.3 seconds quicker than Santeri Heiskanen. You can see how wide Heiskanen was through that final corner. Will take the white flag this time by. Bounces to the start-finish stripe as well. What has been, let's be honest, an anticlimactic LCQ2. Matthew Lindy's going to slide his way through turns 1 and 2 and then exit off on the right to take his Joker and inherit the race lead. And JP do it with some comfort.
Yeah, it's not even close. Gets about at least 2-3 seconds. Just an absolute hot rod. Got a clean launch. Everyone else had troubles behind and clean sailing.
Well, I hope this is just setting us up for some barn burner of a race in the main event, because LCQ2, not much for us to really talk about here in terms of action. Matthew Lindy, Santeri Heiskanen fight their way forward. I'm going to be joined by Brendan Raymond, in that 369. Might have had a bit of damage to the suspension, but nurses it forward and will line up for the final row when the main event gets underway. And remember, we've got another one of these LCQs still left to go, so here's a look at the results. Let's go take a look at the starting grid for that next of the LCQs, where some strong drivers will want to make sure they're not left behind. Look at that. Josh Edmondson, Esteban Titz, Felix Roy, Rene Wegner, and then Lindsay Hobbs. Top 5 drivers that will enter, and only 3, of course, have to be there at the end to work their way forward. Feels a bit weird saying that, JP, doesn't it?
Yeah, touch bit, especially knowing the speed with Edmondson, Felix Roy after all as well. You throw in World of Outlaws experience in the championships there. Tietz, though, could make this an intense fight once Edmondson makes its way to the race grid here, though. There has already been a warning through race control. Keep an eye on the late brakes. After all, we've seen a lot of contact as a result of late braking.
Here we go for the second of the LCQs. Oh, left behind at the back, but it's almost even at the front. 2 by 2 they'll work through the long right-hander and onto the dirt. It's going to be Edmondson that's challenged on his inside, not going to have it all his own way. Felix Roy is going to be able to now challenge for second, but 3 wide behind Edmondson. Surely you take to the Joker. He thinks no. He decides it's not worth it. Instead, Esteban Titz, as well as Lindsay Hobbs, elect to take the Joker. Split calls, and 3 very quick drivers now running with one another.
That was a tight angle, I think, though, for Edmondson, possibly, with Roy getting the momentum. All that's now possibly thinking maybe possibly Edmondson's second lap with how this is going, because Roy seems to be dead even, if not a little bit quicker on the short run. It's actually one of the best runs we've seen from Roy so far in the series.
Rene Wegner, a small mistake. He's dropped a couple of seconds. So easy to slip and stumble. Edmondson responds. He does not want to wait. Interesting to see that. And he will cycle along to the outside. Now, will he decide to fight, or does he back out of it? You look at him in VR trying to find a way on through. No way on found. Decides to hold back.
Yeah, I think he already knows. Just got to wait. He's a lot stronger in some circumstance here in 1 and 2. He's been merely planting that car with the e-brake so far to be able to stay in the gas and rotate just right. One of the things also noticing so far with the open set, a lot more changes to the gears, a lot more drivers utilizing the 5th gear. But the RX2 side, drivers were going past the 4th gear.
2 laps to go next time by. And for Felix Roy, with Rene Wegner having jokered, I think he finds himself in a great spot. He should get in front of Lindsay Hobbs. He's going to be more thinking, right, where can I place myself relative to these 2 that continue to battle? There's the look on board with the number 11 machine. JP, do you go this time by?
Honestly, with how things are shaping up on his own, I think possibly, yeah, because the thing is, if his hope is Wagner makes a fight with Hobbs, I don't think they're getting close enough to fight. Surprised he didn't take it right there, just try and make it the fight for the time being. He is gaining a bit of time this lap, though, in the middle sector.
These lap times are quick, fast, frenetic races. That's what Rallycross is all about. White flag in hand. And our main event grid about to be locked and loaded. Edmondson not battling for the lead by any means. Is he aware of where Felix Roy is? There's the driver in set, bouncing his way across the line. And look at him in 4th gear now, using that momentum to exit off towards the Joker. Where does he emerge? Is he going to be alongside? Is he going to be in front? He'll be alongside of Edmondson, cuts back underneath. Oh, what a fight it will be in the main event with these Joker strategies based on what we've seen so far. A little bit of contact with the wall, doesn't really matter. 3 very deserving drivers survive to make it to the main event.
And that answered the question, why didn't he use it the last time by? Pretty clear, Felix Roy, a lot more comfortable in the late stages, using more of the driver skill to be able to get that car to plant. Almost treating it like his sprint car we've seen on the World Championship side.
Let's look at the race results. It is, of course, the 3 drivers that I think many expected to advance, but Lindsay Hobbs and Rene Wegner, unfortunately, done for the day and done for the first half of the season as well. My word, I'm now getting excited, JP. Even if LCQ1 wasn't so exciting, LCQ2 showed us what these drivers can do, and now they're back on track and figuring out exactly what the track has to offer them.
I think that battle going to be between Rafos and McFarlane's going to be intense, though. I will start off by saying that because they're dead even on pace right now. With long run, with mid run, with short run, with fire off, they both know the tricks. Now it's about trying to see which one's able to get the track position to master the right timing here. Now, that's all being said, Connor Parise, who's just behind McFarlane for the starting grid coming up here, I think might be someone who could really make it difficult for McFarlane to even focus on Rafos because he was a lot quicker in clean space once he got said space in his heat.
And remember, now we add a little bit more length onto these races as well. We'll take a look at the Racecraft race analysis. 5-lap heats, 5-lap LCQs, all building to the 10-lap feature. And we saw with the RX2 drivers, a lot of them took the Joker at the start. It's a big shortcut, JP. If you have it in reserve, you can always try and fight your way forward. And so I would not be surprised if you don't take the Joker at the very start, you decide to give it a bit more of a weight and keep it in reserve for the closing laps.
We've already seen that for the heat races in particular because the mindset, finish strong, take the Joker last lap. It's similar to taking the sprint towards the finish line in a marathon. But the counterpoint, again, is going to come down to how the start plays out. It definitely is going to intriguingly decide who takes what strat. Let's put it this way. If you're the right side coming out of turn 2, very likely, if you don't take the Joker, someone else behind you will.
Drivers have been escorted off the track of warm-up, and it's time to go racing as they make their way to their grid stalls. Tense moments will wait, but the first half of the season's ready to be put into the books. Let's find out how they'll line up and if anyone's going to be able to challenge Jacob Rafos on the run down into turn number 1. Joni Palaneva will be alongside, and then Evan McFarlane and Jukka Pakala line up alongside one another on the row behind them. Connor Parisi and Kim-Andre Bjorklund, 5th and 6th positions, 7th going the way of Matthew Lindy, the first of the drivers fighting from an LCQ. Esteban Titz is alongside with Santeri Heiskin and Felix Roy, Brendan Raymond and Josh Edmondson, the 12 drivers that advanced from the LCQs and the heats and now have championship points in their minds. They're all basically on the grid, just waiting for Edmondson at the very back, and they'll turn their attention towards the lights. Engines are ready to race. Who will shine brightest here at the Iowa Speedway? Great start from your pole sitter. Jacob Rafos will lead us through the opening couple of corners. 3 wide for a moment behind. Felix Roy's been turned around. Contact over the jump as well. Another chaotic start, but through all of that, McFarlane challenging for second. Rafos goes to the Joker first time by.
Looks like no control, so doing the same thing they did in RX2. Take the Joker early on, get some clean space for their drivers here. Won't be surprised if McFarlane goes on the counter strategy with what we've seen the last time in the heat race. Already though, Rafos with that clean space, just able to break away. There's a lot of traffic building up behind already.
There is the first of the drivers to have yet to Joker. McFarlane already 10.6 behind come the line. Felix Roy dropping down the timing screen as he watches on the sidelines now. Will pay no further participation in this race. Matthew Lindy forces Bjorklund out wide. He decides to Joker more just because he had no other choice, and he emerges in 5th, but that really cost him dearly.
Surprised McFarlane didn't respond quickly in terms of taking the Joker there, because he seemed to be struggling a little bit in 1 and 2. He hit both of the turtles that cost him a little bit of time in that sector. I almost wonder if, again, he's banking on the same thing as last time that we seen at Knockhill. Better long run, wait for the car to plant, or he's found something that thinks to the opposite of what you would expect. Here we go, he's within 10 seconds, this could be close.
It's not going to be close enough though. Palaneva will get past, but Evan McFarlane on the outside will have to really be brave to make it stick. Palaneva's alongside, but great racing between the two. McFarlane makes it work. Lap 3 in the books. Rafos still leads, but now with 5 drivers at the front, make that 9 drivers at the front having jokered. It's all going to be down to wheel pace. McFarlane waited a couple of laps. It wasn't enough.
Yeah, and now it's going to be even more challenging because it's going to be stuck in the midst of the wake, but also, better yet, Rafos has been able to get himself a lot more cleaner space. If anything, McFarlane's got to still work on the battle with Palaneva. And that takes away a chance if McFarland slips up at all to get the diamond line that he's been trying compared to where Foss's more flat entry.
Yeah, look how close to the inside wall they get through that final corner. Great camera angle from up above. So still 2 drivers at the very back yet to have jokered, but not really in a spot where we think they're going to be putting much danger up to your race leaders. McFarlane, last time by, was actually a couple of tenths quicker than Jacob Raffoss, so definitely has the speed ability, but will reach half race distance in this main event next time by. And this lap, I do think Raffoss has responded. Fastest lap of the race, a 35.924. Now Raffoss does a 36.037, McFarlane a tenth slower.
Yeah, I'm still finding this intriguing though when McFarlane's trying to use the banking as the ramp, essentially dive it off the corner, make the run up towards that final straightaway, build up a lot of speed. It costs a decent amount of time, I think, in terms of the lap time, possibly, but it still helps on the interval. Watch it again right here. It's 1.1 seconds entering. He'll lose about a tenth, likely coming out of the corner yet again. However, that extra little bit of boost seems to be enough to gain a tenth or two back and close the gap a car lane. If anything, I don't think he's focused on lap time. He just wants to close the gap in general.
That last lap, Raffoss a little bit slower. He lost 2 tenths. Remember, changing conditions, you're having to shift your driving approach every single lap. Conor Parisi is behind. Jukka Pakala, no control, number 92 machine. Gonna have to really watch its mirrors for a wily veteran that would have competed at this track so many times that he knows exactly where the few passing opportunities are. And into this corner off the banking, you can try and set it up on the inside. Long way around only really works if you're coming out of the Joker, and so they come back towards to start what will be 3 laps left to go. This all inside of the fight for the top 5.
No matter how you slice it, though, if you're no control, you're very happy in this run. A 3-4 is very solid when it comes to the grouping itself here. And you're able to play solid defense on an Air Nitro Circus machine in Parise. Pretty clear that you are near on par, at least in the midst of the longer mid-run pace. It's just the fire-off. That might be the conversation for them in the team shop after today. Also, by the way, I think Raffoss has turned on the afterburners. Raffoss gets the advantage in this serve in terms of better on long run. He's picking up a tenth again, a lap on average.
Santeri Heiskanen makes a mistake, drops behind the 22 machine, so still some mistakes being made out on track, but with just Josh Edmondson to have jokered, don't think we should expect too many changes there. 35.928 from Raffoss, not the fastest lap of the race, but shows that ability to adjust and make those micro adjustments. White flag in hand, lap traffic of Edmondson in front, who will take to the Joker, you'd assume, to get out of the way, but JP Raffoss ready to be back on top.
It was the question of how we would bounce back after the long run pace. Seen himself slip behind the young gun McFarlane. Pretty clear, Raffoss is kind of showcasing why he's one of the top drivers in this platform and in this car in general on iRacing. He knows how to build the car. No family or friends behind him this time.
And he is the man to beat. Jacob Raffoss back on top. The defending champion wins here under the night lights at the Iowa Speedway. Battle behind, we'll see Jukka Pakala and Conor Parisi fight all the way to the checkered. Only 800ths between the two of them. We saw it all. Chaos, carnage, and great racing. And JP, there's a reason why Iowa's got a great place circled on the calendar by many.
Yeah, it's an interesting racetrack. You talked about for some not as popular, but the thing is, always seen some interesting racing here at Iowa. Regardless of the series, regardless of the level, there's a reason it's on the rookie schedules too. It's a good track that helps you learn. And guess what? A lot of drivers took others to school today.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the race results. It is Jacob Raffoss winning once more and building that advantage at the end to 1.5 seconds. Evan McFarlane backs up the pace from a week ago by making sure he solidifies some good championship points in second, and then no control third and fourth. What a great day for them. Joni Palaneva in front of Jukka Pakala and holding off Conor Parisi. Matthew Lindy behind them, Istvan Tits in seventh, and then Santeri Heiskanen and Kim Andre Bjorklund and Josh Edmondson make up the rest of your top 10. It was a finish for Brendan Raymond, unfortunately not for Felix Roy, but 12 cars saw the start. Felix Roy unfortunately only saw a couple of corners. We'll get the chance to go down and chat with our race winner, standing by once again, Jacob Rafos. Jacob, it was close in qualifying. Talk to us about 3 thousandths between you and Joni Palaneva. What more speed did you have in your qualifying lap time?
Yeah, on my last lap I was on a really good heater. I probably could have hit a 35.1 or something, but I mean it was pole position, and you know, couldn't hope for any better.
Back on top in terms of the victory as well. It was close though. You felt some pressure. Lap times were traded back and forth. How much pressure do you feel from McFarlane behind you?
Yeah, sure, some pressure, but I don't know, I just took it calm and knowing it's hard to pass on this track, so just take it calm and do some clean laps. I didn't put that much time into this event. I came 1 hour before the event and started practicing, so I mean, yeah, couldn't hope for any better.
Another victory on the board. Congratulations, Jacob, and we'll see you in a week's time over at Atlanta.
Thank you, and I'd like to give a shout out to Simagic, Nixel Racing, Siblensing RS, and yeah, that's it.
Jacob Rafos on top. Second, though, for Evan McFarlane, who's standing by with our own Justin Prince.
Yes, indeed. Evan McFarlane talked to us about tonight because Laura Pace seemed to be once again a battle between you and Rafos. What was that description like from your perspective within 1.5 seconds for the win?
Yeah, you know, I knew me and Jacob were really even, especially in the practices before, and I knew that it'd either come down to qualifying or just how Joker strategy played out. So I messed up my qualifying, which sucked a bit, and in the heat, I knew it's either I wanted to maybe stay in second just in case Jacob messed up, but you know, Jacob had the pace. I mean, we were really even. So yeah, and in the future, I try to stay out as long as possible and take my Joker, so maybe that the extra speed would help me and I could battle Jacob. But yeah, I just caught up to a guy like 2 seconds per lap, so I had to just take it, and I put myself in kind of a good position. I was just trying to race Jacob the whole time, but you know, we were both really close on pace.
On that note, though, a solid race for you tonight. Thank you for your time, Evan. Congrats on the podium.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to thank KS Industries, Fluid Logic, True Speed, Marwin Sports, Malin, OMP, the Racecraft guys. Thank you guys for putting this on. My mom, my dad, always there for me, and the Lord above for always keeping me strong. So yeah, thank you guys, and yeah.
Always great to be able to chat to the drivers and listen to their reaction. And JP, we talked about how he's building momentum, building confidence, Evan McFarlane. He'll take that over to Atlanta, where it is a lot easier to pass than it is at Iowa. And I think Jacob knew it was hard to pass today. He will need a bit more practice maybe going into this round when we make our way to the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, that's going to take a lot of precision because it's one of the newer ones. We touched a bit when it comes to this racetrack in terms of some of the difference fields, in terms of the banking, obviously, that you picked up on the dirt side, but also just the intensity that builds up as a result of setup opportunities. Next week's going to be fun.
And all is as we jump into that back half of the season. 3 back-to-back weeks. Atlanta, Brands Hatch, Sonoma to close things off. They're all hunting Jacob Rafos in RX1. Of course, we're ready to crown a new champion in RX2. Back half of the season, some interesting tracks. Brands Hatch and Sonoma being outliers in some ways. Brands Hatch having that heavy braking zone. Sonoma being so flowing, and the bowling alley at the start as well. Staying out of trouble's going to be wild. And of course, don't forget, you can catch that all here live and exclusive on RaceSpotTV. But until then, though, it's time to bid you farewell. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Justin Prince. Thanks again for joining us for Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing. We'll see you in a week's time from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, ready to do it all again.